What is going on, everybody? Before I even get into this video, I want to say a lot of you guys are saying that I'm stealing Simple Alpaca's videos, that like I'm literally just ripping his videos and just using them and talking over them. But I do just want to say that I actually am Simple Alpaca. This is just my second channel, which is Lo-Fi Alpaca, and I want this channel to be more so videos that I don't get time to do on the main channel, so I want to do them on a second channel. So yeah, there's no drama. Me and Simple Alpaca are cool because we're the same person. So like I said, this is the second channel. Please subscribe to this one if you like my other videos, but let's just get into it. Basically, the Nexus 5X and the iPhone 6s are both very popular phones. I've done 2018 updated reviews on them, and they've both done very, very well, so I know a lot of people are still interested in them. And between the two, which one should you get in 2018? Well, interestingly enough, they actually came out the same year and actually within the same month in September of 2015. So these phones are actually about 3 years old at this point. And it's actually pretty interesting because on one hand you had a flagship and on the other hand you also had a flagship, but it wasn't really priced as a flagship at the time. Now on the Nexus 5X we had a 5.2-inch IPS panel and it was 1080p, so it was pretty decent. But on the iPhone 6s we had a 4.7-inch panel, it was IPS as well, and it was only 750p, so the Nexus 5X did have a better panel. But one cool thing about the iPhone 6s screen was that it had Force Touch or 3D Touch, whatever you want to call it, which allowed you to kind of get more immersed into the display and get more information by tapping harder. So that's definitely one thing that the iPhone 6s had going for it, and I definitely like that about it. But between the two, the Nexus 5X overall had the better display. Now the cool thing is that technically the Nexus 5X did get updates for a minute, but it really didn't get too many. So it only got Android 6.0 and Android 8.0, and I don't believe it's getting Android Pie. So technically it got 2 more versions of Android than what it started off with. But on the iPhone 6s, it got iOS 9, it's right now getting iOS 12, and I believe it's going to get iOS 13 as well. So it's going to get an extra year of support where the Nexus 5X, kind of stopped this year. So that's definitely one advantage. Now, before I continue, I want to say that iOS and Android are two completely different operating systems. So just because an Android has better specs, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better performance or better in performance. And the Nexus 5X had a Qualcomm Snapdragon 808 processor, a hexa-core CPU clocked at 1.4 GHz, an Adreno 418 GPU, and 2 GB of RAM. Where the iPhone 6s had the Apple A9 chip, a dual-core CPU clocked at 1.84 GHz, and 2 GB of RAM. And between the two, I would probably say the iPhone 6s had better performance, but I also think that the Nexus 5X wasn't that bad either, because the 5X was on stock Android, and it really wasn't bogged down too much. But I would say in overall performance and gaming, everything combined, I would probably give it to the iPhone 6s. But just know that the Nexus 5X is pretty close to it too. It's not horrible. I would definitely say the iPhone 6s is better in overall performance. Now switching to the camera, they both actually had 12 megapixel camera. Well, the Nexus 5X had a 12.3 megapixel camera, just a little bit better, but they both were pretty decent. They were single sensors, not dual sensors. The Nexus 5X was okay. The Nexus line never really had amazing cameras. The Nexus 6P had a decent camera, but that actually had a couple problems with it in itself. But the iPhone 6s camera I think is overall better. They both can shoot 4K videos. The Nexus 5X was able to shoot 1080p videos at 30 frames per second, where the iPhone 6s can shoot 1080p videos at 120 frames per second. So definitely an improvement, and I would probably give the edge to the iPhone 6s. I do think it had the overall better sensor. And the front cameras were both 5 megapixels, but I would still give the edge to the iPhone 6s. I just think the overall sensor was better and you were able to take better photos of it and everything. So now in terms of the battery life, this is kind of interesting because the Nexus 5X, I personally don't believe it had an amazing battery life. It was very mediocre in my opinion. And I would probably say the same thing about the iPhone 6s as well. The Nexus 5X had a 2700 mAh battery. The iPhone 6s had a 1715 mAh battery. And like I said, I would probably give the edge here to, I would say they're both even. There's really not one over the other. They're both pretty mediocre. Maybe the Nexus 5X has better battery life, but even in this case, I would probably still say they're even in terms of battery life. Now, some notable things to note, they both do have fingerprint sensors. The Nexus 5X has one on the back, the iPhone 6s has one on the front. The Nexus 5X does have a front-facing speaker, and I believe it's only one front-facing speaker. I believe the other one is just an earpiece, but still, that's better than not having a speaker at all. There is quite a bit of ROM community behind the Nexus 5X, so that is pretty cool. The one big factor that you have to remember is that the Nexus 5X technically does have a huge problem behind it, and that is the boot loop issue. There was a huge problem where a lot of LG devices where as soon as you boot it up, it would just continuously boot loop and you couldn't get past the LG screen or next Google screen, whatever it was. And this phone was hit by that specific problem. Now just keep in mind that there is a recall for these and you can get it exchanged. But that does kind of factor in overall in what my opinion is going to be. And honestly, if it's between these two, I would probably pick the iPhone 6s over the Nexus 5X, basically because of that one reason, but also because it does have a better camera and it is overall better in performance. If the Nexus 5X did not have that specific problem, maybe I would kind of sway to it a little bit more, but because it did have that one problem, it does kind of affect me and does kind of make me not want to recommend it to people, because I don't want you having that same problem too and going through all that and stuff. And excuse me if my voice is sounding weird. Yeah, I would probably recommend the iPhone 6s over that in 2018. I will leave links in the description for a Nexus 5X or an iPhone 6s if you want them. I try to find the lowest prices I can find and link them down there for all of you guys. So if you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button on this channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 very, very soon. So if you guys could make that dream come true, I would really appreciate it. Definitely check out the links in the description as well. My main channel, my Twitter, my Instagram, all that stuff is down there. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. And hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.